Last of Us show slaps, but you don't need another guy to tell you how good it is, so here's an abridged recap written in the style of a guy who doesn't like good things. Our 1960s opening scene does a great job of setting up the story and telling us why we should care about it, because this time instead of a virus, it's a fungus. In a revolutionary act of storytelling, we meet the main character in a scene where he wakes up late. This is Joel, a hardworking, single, middle-class father, and this is his brother Tommy, who seems like he's more of a fun guy.
He's dependent on me, not the same.
This is clever foreshadowing for when Tommy's revealed to be a mushroom in the finale. Joel's daughter Sarah notices this guy tweaking out. By some act of God, the teacher isn't discussing something indirectly related to the plot. You know the scenes, like if she was in biology and they were talking about fungus or some shit, I would have turned it off. Sarah fixes up her dad's watch for his birthday. And if I was an art student, I'd say all these allusions to clocks are subtle warnings that the end of times is approaching, and that writing on-the-nose foreshadowing into your pilot episode is actually a good way to introduce a symbolic story without alienating your audience. But I'm not. Sarah goes to her neighbors, but Granny got into the Benadryl again and starts seeing spiders, so Sarah goes home. Tommy got locked up for being a white knight, and Joel goes to bail him out. While he's gone, shit hits the fan. The TV tells Sarah she shouldn't go outdoors, so Sarah goes outdoors. She notices the neighbors got rowdy without her, so she walks over to crash the party. But instead of a rager, she finds her dying neighbor who confesses he's gay. And she finds a woman who I'd list in the top 10 most vile things I've ever seen. Joel runs into his daughter and kills Grandma for the party foul. However, he realizes she's been infected, so he doesn't have to feel too guilty about it. They flee the scene, and Tommy decides to go off-roading with the boys.
It's good for them, but that's the highway we're trying to get to. Head north. Could be a lot of people.
They drive over to town where they find a peaceful protest until someone ruins it with an airplane. So I had jokes written about this scene, but it actually felt really, really weird recording it and making light of it. It's really heartbreaking and really well done. You've heard it already, I'm sure, but Pedro's performance here is just top-notch.
I know, baby. No, I know. Tommy, help me!
Oh, God, man. So Joel's daughter has passed away. 20 years go by, and Joel still doesn't have mushroom for joy in his life. We see him dispose the body of a child like he's just taking out the trash. He's holed up in a Fedra safe zone. Fedra's an agency that arose through the apocalypse, but they're kind of dicks, so a rebellion group called the Fireflies has sprouted up. Joel's doing shady stuff to get by. He's also doing a lady named Tess, who's trying to smuggle a car battery for him so he can break out of the safe zone to find his missing brother. However, the car battery folks scam her. I applaud The Last of Us for their real-world accuracy, as this plays out much like it would with most local auto body shops in the eastern United States. They're debating on killing her, but before they reach a decision, the wall goes chicka chicka boom boom and she survives because she's got enough room. We discover this is the result of one of the Fireflies' civil discourse. Here we finally meet Ellie. And I gotta give props to Bella Ramsey here. A lot of other performers could have really easily slipped into annoyance with these lines, but she masterfully walks that tightrope of endearingly sassy above a sprawling pit of obnoxious. She's not been written as this fierce, independent girl boss like we're used to seeing. She's a very vulnerable and very pissed off victim of the apocalypse, and with Bella's performance, I'm able to sympathize with her almost immediately. No jokes here, just good writing. Now we get a closer look at the Fireflies. Spurred by the controlling, violent, information-hiding tyranny around them, they start hiding information and committing acts of violence.
People are asking what's going on, and I don't know what to tell them.
Tell them to follow orders.
However, they've got a good mantra. When you're lost in the darkness, look for the light. This reminds me of my own personal philosophy: when you're cold, put on a jacket. However, they seem to abide more by the principle when you're lost in darkness, blow shit up. Regardless, this Firefly, Marlene, reveals Ellie is immune or resistant to the fungal infection, and they're going to take her out west to a lab or something. This means the Fireflies want some of that car battery action, but things go south with the local mechanic after he tries charging them $70 for an oil change. The Fireflies get messed up pretty bad. Joel and Tess run into them and agree to get Ellie to where she's going in exchange for supplies to find Tommy. Marlene's bleeding out, so Joel tells her to get well shroom and heads out. After being told to stay off the streets at night, Joel goes onto the streets at night. Predictably, they run into trouble, but Joel's learned his lesson and takes care of it. We crescendo a very solid pilot episode with a pedestal shot of real-life, modern-day Philadelphia.
That boy got that virus.
I think there's a moral slowly developing through the first episode. It's summed up well by the short story author Amy Hempel. How do we know that what happens to us isn't good? What role do pain and suffering have in our lives? Where Joel went through loss, there's this new ruthless capability. The spot Ellie was bitten may hold the answer to the entire apocalypse. And even in Tommy's case, the eyes that witnessed unspeakable horrors of war now look down the scope of a rifle that never misses its mark. This kind of duality is expressed so well throughout the pilot episode, and I'm sure we're going to be seeing more of it as time goes on. Robert Bly, the American poet, once explained, "Where one's wound is, that is where their genius will be." The Last of Us, through hints planted in the first episode, I assume is going to be an open exploration of our relationship to suffering, how it maims us, and how it liberates us. Because a seed doesn't grow without pressure from the soil above it. So if our walls are there to eliminate pressure, to what degree do they also eliminate living? If you've ever seen Attack on Titan, the anime, I made a whole 40-minute video on the topic. But these aren't the only questions the pilot asks. In the same vein, something else that stood out to me was not the show's violence, but the reasons for the show's violence. Why does Joel pummel the Fedra officer into a pulp? Is it because he's a sick, traumatized man? Or is it because of a deep, inherent need to protect and defend those around him? And then, as this clever dialogue from earlier asks, might there not even be a difference?
Oh, he loves you.
He's dependent on me. Not the same.
I think it's the same.
It's definitely the same. I thought we was having pancakes.
Dependence and love, fear and bravery, anger and calm. To what degree do these things exist in the same space, and what might that mean for us? Well, we're just at episode 1, but I've got a feeling we're going to find out soon. That's actually going to wrap this episode up. My videos are normally really long format, and this is my first attempt at a new foray, so if you're still here, I'd seriously appreciate feedback in the comments. I'll be replying to as many as I can. I think I might actually do this with every episode that comes out, or like every couple episodes depending upon the pacing, so if you're interested in that, go ahead and subscribe. I'd love to have you. Thank you for watching. I'm really stoked to see where the writers are taking this, and I'll see you next time.